Thank you for visiting bestbiblecommentaries.com. In this video, I would like to show you the Expositor's Bible Commentary series. This has been a well-reviewed and much-used commentary series by conservative evangelicals for the last 40 or 50 years. The commentary series was originally published in the 70s or in late 70s, early 80s, around there. And it was published in 12 volumes. The commentary series was revised around 2007, kind of depends on the exact volume or the exact book, but around 2007 is when this revised edition came out. Some books in the original series remained the same, others were updated, and still others were completely replaced. One thing you notice when you compare the older edition and the newer edition is there's different volume numbers, and the reason for that, one of the reasons for that, is because the original series, the first volume in the original series contained introductory articles on general topics, and then on New Testament topics, and then on Old Testament topics, and it was kind of like a biblical study resource where in the general section included articles on transmission and translation of the Bible by F.F. Bruce, The Authority and Inspiration of the Bible by Carl F.H. Henry. So you can, just by those two, you can tell there's definitely an evangelical approach to the text in this series. Bruce Metzger, Harold Honer, in the Old Testament volumes, J.A. Motier, Bruce Waltke, Archaeology in the Old Testament, Theology of the Old Testament. New Testament examples would be Textual Criticism by Gordon D. Fee. Who else is pretty well known? Jesus in the Gospels by I. Howard Marshall. So those are just some examples of the articles you'll find in the first volume of the original edition. So there is not this introductory article, this volume, in the revised series. Conservative evangelicals would probably still find this volume helpful. So even if you had the revised series, this might be good to have in the library if you want to access some of those articles that I give examples of. So the series is broadly evangelical. Authors will come from different denominations, different theological convictions on secondary matters, and that's pretty common when you have multiple authors in one commentary series like this. So that's why I call it broadly evangelical. Some of the most well-reviewed volumes with original and then retained in the new would be, for a couple of examples, D.A. Carson's Matthew volume is considered one of the best commentaries on Matthew available today. It's found in the original version, and it's completely retained in the revised version. Willem van Gemeren, I think I'm saying that name correctly, his Psalms commentary is found in the original, and in the revised, it's considered one of the best Psalm commentaries available today. And let me note that Dr. Van Gemeren has done a Q&A with me on that volume on Psalms for my website. So if you go to bestbiblecommentaries.com and you're at the top horizontal menu where it says Author Q&A, scroll to Psalms, and you will find a Q&A on that volume on Psalms. Another pretty well-reviewed one is that's retained in both is Revelation, written by Alan Johnson, and then it's retained in the new edition. And while we're on the subject of Revelation, Revelation and Daniel are both written from a premillennial perspective in the original version of the series and in the revised version of the series. It's the same one, Alan Johnson's. There are some, though, that have been replaced. Some books and authors have been replaced. So John in the original was written by Merrill C. Tenney. And then in the revised, it's written by completely replaced by Robert Mounts. Others seems to be more of a rewrite, I would call it, because the original author is retained, but there is another author listed who seems to have done some revision or some rewriting. So an example of that would be the Book of Mark, where Mark Strauss, who you may be familiar with, he's continuing to publish commentaries and other helpful biblical resources. He has done a revised or rewritten Mark, and so now both authors' names appear. So again, this is I would call this it's definitely conservative evangelical, and I would say it leans toward the introductory side. It's not technical in nature. There's not going to be a lot of discussion on Hebrew and Greek and recent biblical scholarship. The focus is more on the meaning of the text and some theological insight, some application suggestion, but it's the series majors on the meaning of the text. So pastors would be helped by this, but I think Sunday school teachers, small group leaders, Bible study leaders would be helped by volumes in this series. I hope this video has been helpful. Thank you for visiting bestbiblecommentaries.com.